Without a doubt, you're going to be tested. No matter how clear your plan is, how consistent your habits are, or how deeply you've committed to this point, life is going to pull us. It's going to pull you off course, isn't it? And when it does, there's only one thing that keeps us in the game, and it's the word conviction. All right, friends, welcome back to another episode of the Re-Education Experience. And this is a very special one for me. This is a special one because it's the final episode of the C7 series that I brought you through as I rebooted this podcast-powered journey. Today, we step into, I think, maybe the hardest, most important, certainly most honest chapter of all, and that is conviction. So just as a recap, again, not sure where you've joined me on this journey, but C number one, it was the courage to start. Okay? C number two was the clarity to define your path. C3, the constraint to focus your energy. C number four was capacity to hold this all, to hold the weight of it, right? To hold the weight of this plan. C5 was cadence. The cadence to finally, in our business, to create the word rhythm, which I've used a lot, and I can't spell. And then C6 was the commitment, you guys, to stay the course. So if that's all the case, this is all in well. We've done a lot to get to this point together, and I'm going to put a big happy face and a check mark because if you've come this far, you're well further ahead than you've ever been. But here's the truth. None of everything we covered, unfortunately, is going to guarantee you anything. It's not going to guarantee any results. And this is where, of course, because of that, most people will fall apart because it's just too much to kind of take on. They've done the work, they've built the damn routines, but when life happens, and it will, they lose the fire. Napoleon Hill would say you would drift, right? They collapse just short of the breakthrough. Back to the meme from last time with the pickaxe guy, and just on the other end, he stops and turns. So this is why conviction made into my C7 framework. And this is why it matters the most, right? Okay, conviction is different than the things we talked about. Conviction is different because this isn't about tweaking your schedule or improving the system. This is all about what happens when you're a whole big zero. This is what conviction is about. This is what happens when nothing is working. Conviction, my friends, is kind of like the final thing we have in our repertoire when motivation fails, when the momentum isn't happening, and there is literally no evidence yet that anything that you've done to this point is working. And that's going to happen. That's happened to me countless times. This is the difference. The conviction part is the difference between this point where you restart and start over every 6 months because you just do, or become the type of person that can build a whole long career and keep the baby going and not starting over from scratch. When I think about this one story, it was a gal in the US. Coaching her, she had everything going on really well. Really cool systems, was early on the VA train, support, had a really cool little bit of branding and a little boutique little brokerage. But then what happened is she had a personal situation where her mother got sick. Her kids needed her more. Her schedule started to just blow up and just drift off schedule. And despite all of the prep, that C1 to C7, even though I didn't have that framework, she was on the verge of just like throwing in the towel, right? And I think we've all felt that, whether it be a micro moment like that or like a big one. I asked her something. I said, is the mission that you've told me about, is it over? Right? Is it over? Or could it be just interrupted? Ooh, could it be just interrupted? And I think that real and raw conversation snapped her back into place, right? She realized this whole concept to get to this point, it wasn't about failure at all. It was just like life was testing her, as it's going to do with all of us, right? The moment every time I think I got my stuff figured out, something comes my way and I have to readjust and pivot. And then when I do, I'm always stronger off, right? But the conviction here is what will keep you going. And it did. She came back stronger. She came back smarter. When I have had to go through these myself, I come back reinforced and more mature. And that's why you win, right? That's the real game. And that's why I think this episode matters so much if you've come through this journey. Conviction is that, I'm going to try to do it all, but it's that internal fire that just keeps you going, holds the line, pulls you off of that drifted path, right? This happens for us. I think about it like simple ones that you can hit when your clients ghost you. The person that you had that great rapport with just vanishes. That open house lead that you were working on just doesn't respond. This is the same thing. You start a bunch of marketing. You come up with this brand piece and it flops. Nothing's coming your way. You spend all this energy on reels and shooting short form and adding videos and there's no responses, right? Even your own peers in the business start to irk you and question what you're doing. Maybe all the work you're putting in and the hours you put in, your family's just not supportive. I don't know what it is. It could be anything. It could be that your body's tired. It could be anything. But conviction says, among all of this, I'm still here, right? There's in the real world, there's so many examples we can think of. My kids are reading the Harry Potter series right now. And I think J.K. Rowling's process. How many times did that single mom broke? I think she was even on the verge of depression, got rejected. I don't know the number, but it was lots. It was in the 10s to 20s of publishers rejected her. But she kept going. And now, well, you know what she's done. That is conviction, right? So much conviction. You go to Disneyland, you see the Harry Potter land, you see the details involved. You're like, oh my goodness, that would have never happened without conviction, right? Simple ones right now, all over the world. Trump is in the news. It's not going super well with a lot of places. And you think of places where people endured stuff. Nelson Mandela, 27-ish years in prison. Never knew if he's going to get free. Come on. But the vision, the conviction kept going. Okay. Enough about that. We can go down that rabbit hole. The truth that we need to understand. Oh man, I hate bringing this up, but I love bringing it up in the same. The truth of the business that we've chosen. The business we've chosen is to be self-employed and to wake up every day unemployed, right? So we know that a few things. Nobody is coming to save us. No one's going to knock on the door and say, "You've now earned it. Here's a check," right? We don't have bosses, right? We don't have performance reviews. We don't have somebody checking up to show if we're doing what we're supposed to do today, right? So conviction will become that internal accountability system that we have, that you've made it this far together. It's what's going to get you out of bed when nobody's watching. It's going to keep your name relevant when the market gets quiet. It's all of those things, you guys. I know for me in my own journey, there's been times where I feel completely invisible. What I mean by this is, I've gone, if you follow my social, there's moments where I've been posting a ton, committing time and money and resources, showing up, serving people, pushing to just get more out to the world. And to be honest, it would break me. It would break me because I would feel like nobody was ever noticing it. Inside my own team half the time, to the world that I'm trying to serve greater, nothing, right? Woe is me, right? And I questioned it. I questioned all of it. I stopped part of it. But something has to be the thing that whispers inside of you that says, it does matter. It will work. Keep moving, right? And that's conviction, right? That's conviction. Okay, how to build it though? How? How can we build conviction? And I'm going to say even before you need it. Because if you don't think about this before you get to this point, it could all come crashing down, right? Conviction isn't something that we can just muster up when shit gets hard. It's got to be there. You got to build this into your system before. So how to do it? Number one, this is coming back to early on, but we need to reconnect with our why. And we need to do this often. I would say, if it's in your daily journal, in the self-journal that I use, it's there. Right. Worst case, it's weekly when you're doing your weekly weekly planning and you're charting the course. Right. It has to be there. Don't assume your why will keep itself top of mind, because I have to challenge my agents all the time about why they're doing this or why they're not. And oftentimes that fire has dissipated a little bit. Somebody's put some wet blanket on it and the daily whirlwind will soften that power. I don't want this to be for you. Put it on your screen, put it on your mirror, put it on something, put it on as an alert that shows up on your phone every other, half a day, right? This one might sound hokey, but I think back to my training where it's worked and made most impact is this concept of a letter to your future self. When you want to quit, friends, here's what I want you to remember, right? Darren, when you want to quit, remember this is why you're doing it. When you want to quit and it doesn't feel like the actions are working out, when you want to quit and the team member leaves, when you want to quit and the stock price drops, when you want to quit, remember this is what we're doing this for. That even as I say that, I get, again, the goosebumps that come to mind. Don't let your future self be ashamed. One thing we do at Redline often, and a lot of people kind of don't buy into it, unfortunately, but keep a wins list. So every single meeting we hold, we have this concept of like, let's share wins, let's share swings when we like push ourselves out of our comfort zone, and let's share red life moments, we call them, where it's like we're interacting together because we have a big enough group to do that. So if you don't have all of that, like you need to surface the wins, and you need to have a place to refer back to so that you can give yourself to say, hey, I have made some progress here. And you're going to need that to keep this conviction rolling, right? This document talks about the things that are working, you guys, and your emotions oftentimes are saying what don't, right? But now you have evidence. Well, if you create the evidence, okay? Anchor number 4 is anchor into service, right? What does that mean? So who is affected if you quit, right? Who suffers because you don't keep going? And then on the flip of that, well, who wins if you do? I don't know, pull, push, whatever that needs to pull you into or push you into action. But one of those two is going to hit home and to anchor you into the service, because it's got to be greater than you, right? The things that you would see in the real world that would kind of relate to this would be like marathon runners. Man, there's no way I can do it. That's what I'm saying right now. But what do? I know I've been told there's a bit of a runner's high, but I also know that there's like this pain that comes, that a lot of people are preparing for this wall, that your legs get to this point of like just like concrete. And they're preparing ahead for this like 20 miles, say, block, right? The pain's going to come, right? And you got to visualize and prepare for that in advance of it. So when it hits you, you know the bigger goal is to push through, okay? Navy SEALs do the same thing, right? They're out in freezing cold water, right? In that surf, you've seen those videos, right? They have this mental resolution to know that people have survived this, people have made it past this, I'm gonna make it there too, right? It's the conviction, right? You don't rise to conviction in the moment. You don't. You rehearse it before, so that when it gets there, you've got it and you can push through. If you don't, I always like to cover this. If you don't find the conviction, if you don't find what happens, you will end up quitting before your breakthrough, which has probably happened before. You're going to end up losing trust in yourself and the whole integrity of the dominoes that have got you to this point. We don't want that. And you're going to get addicted to those short-term results, and you're going to walk away and keep as far away as possible the ability to have these long-term results. And they're never going to happen because of the pivots, right? We know when somebody's got a huge dream, when somebody's got a huge dream, the death of the dream isn't usually like this really intense moment in time. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts. You've heard that before. It's rarely dramatic. It's a slow burn. It's quiet. And all of a sudden they're so far from what's possible. That is not the place we want you to be when that dream is gone and feels like it could never be achieved. So let's not let that be you after you and I have walked beautifully all the way down here to see number 7. You've come this far. You've invested too much. There's too many people needing you. On and on and on, you guys. I don't know. The final thing I think I want to share in this whole series, hopefully it feels like it's landed with you. What if everything you built, I wish I could just sit back and like do this to you one-on-one. What if everything you built through courage, to clarity, to constraint, to capacity, to cadence? What if all of that? And then commitment, and now here is waiting for you to decide if this is all optional or not? Is this optional anymore, right? What if conviction is the only difference between the one who almost did, maybe the one who almost did many times, and the one who actually did? Where your future self, you look at yourself in that future mirror and they're going to be proud of you, right? What if the fire you've been building, the time we spent, the week by week stuff was always meant to lead you to this moment to just finally have that internal fire, that conviction, right? Will I keep going? Will I keep doing it? Even though no one's watching, most people will never be watching. When the results are slow, friends, when there are no results, and when life is thrown at us among it all, will I keep going with what I want, with what I've built, for the things that I have done this for? Because if you will, then this business can be the limitless business that I know you got into this for. Then this business can be the thing that no storm and no setback, no market change, no tech change, no whatever can silence your ability to pull this off. It can't be, right? No one will stop you. Conviction. No one will stop me. Conviction. So thank you for walking through this journey, this C1 through C7, and allowing me to put this final piece, this final bow on this series. I hope this series for you wasn't just content, but it was more like a map. It allowed us to figure out what pieces in my life needed to get created so that I can get to this map of success. And now that you've got everything, well, for one, you got to show up to Rome, because we're going to dive into another workshop with you. So go to reeducation.school, get your free access to Rome so that we can go and workshop this. But to build the business and the life that I hope feels grounded, probably more focused, and hopefully more resilient than it ever has before. So friends, until next time, or until I see you inside the workshop, thank you for listening once again. I got, of course, as we finish off C's, I've got you a new journey to take you on that will kind of compound off of what we've talked about to further bring you through this podcast-powered intentional coaching journey. Have a great one.